Welcome back to Furry Trash, the podcast for furries by furries. I'm Rose Get in the Box, and welcome to another episode of the show. Today I'm joined by a fellow Irish furry, aka Happy the Fox. Say hello, Happy.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, I'm Happy the Fox. I was formerly known as Cupid the Fox on YouTube. And yeah, that's me.
Well, welcome to the show, and first of all, thank you for reaching out and asking to be a guest. It means the absolute world, especially to another Irish fur who I've met multiple times at conventions before. So I'm delighted to have you here.
I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So Happy, how did you get into the furry fandom?
It was actually, I first found the fandom through YouTube. I came across multiple music videos, fursuit dance videos, and music videos. I was really intrigued by them. However, it wasn't until the NBC News video that the Beneath the Fursuit news episode of the convention that explained furries. Once they better explained it, it was only at that point I realized, yes, I want to be a part of this, you know?
I don't know what this is, but I want it.
Yeah, exactly.
So how did you create your persona from there?
Okay, my persona actually existed. Happy, he is really, really old. I created him in 2013, so pretty much before I found out about the fandom, which I'm pretty sure could have been 2015, maybe 16. However, he was initially just an Animal Jam character. He was actually a tiger. Happy the tiger he was. However, upon discovering the fandom, I later changed him into a fox. And here we are, Happy the Fox.
He's absolutely adorable, by the way.
Thank you. He's quite unoriginal, but once again, he's from 2013. Little me didn't really have much creativity.
Yeah. How have you kind of grown with the fandom? Because you mentioned that character is from 2013. That's like nearly a decade ago, which is crazy. So how have you grown along with your character? Or how has your character grown along with you?
My character has pretty much always been a part of my life. Even before I knew what furries were, he was just always by my side, always a comfort thing. During school, I would always be sketching my character, talking about my character. You know how little kids during play on the playground will often be role-playing characters. Like, Happy was my go-to character, you know? Like, I'm Happy. And that's just how it went.
Like I mentioned in your introduction, you're also an Irish furry. What have been some conventions you've been to in the past?
Conventions, okay. The very first convention I've actually been to was BroCon in Limerick. I forget what year it was, but that's also where I first met another fursuiter, and it happened to be another Irish fur, the Lanky Lunatic. He was so sweet, such a pleasure to talk to. I was very nervous at the time, very anxious, awkward even, but yeah, he was great. I took a few pictures with him. That con in particular, I did have a really embarrassing thing happen to me. It was quite the horror story. I was at the top of a flight of stairs in my fursuit. I think you can see where this is going. I was taking a few steps and accidentally missed a step, you know, as I'm sure it happens to a lot of people, right? Right? And either way, I slipped down the stairs and just fell. Fortunately, it is a very small convention. I think only one person witnessed me. I do remember they had like a Stephanie from Lazy Town cosplay on, and they were trying not to laugh. I could see in their face, they're just kind of like, don't laugh, don't laugh. My twin and my mother were there, and they just burst out laughing, you know. I don't blame them though. I don't blame them. I've also been to DCC multiple times, and the people there are lovely. I've never had a bad experience there.
Just for people who aren't from Ireland, DCC stands for Dublin Comic Con, and it's typically every March and August. And because Ireland so far doesn't have an Irish furry con, most Irish furries go to that con to have fur meets and stuff, because I have actually hosted a couple of fur meets at that con and been to many fur meet at those cons as well. So it's quite popular for Irish furries to be there.
Oh yeah, definitely. In fact, the area in Ireland in which I live in is actually quite small, the town I live in. Growing up as a furry wasn't very fun, to say the least. It was quite, you know, even having a fursuit, there's only so much you can do in your own garden or in the middle of an empty forest, you know. However, that alone kind of discouraged me a lot from being in the fandom, because there wasn't much of a hype for it. There was no meets around my area, or at least not that I knew of when I was younger. However, this one person I'll mention, her name was Chloe, is Chloe even, goodness. I met her going into secondary school, just as I kind of stopped doing the whole furry thing. I kind of mellowed out a bit and told myself, okay, I need to calm down a bit. I don't want to be seen as the weird kid, you know? But this girl, she came up to me and was like, Happy the Box, like, I know your YouTube and you're so cool. And I was like, who? Who are you talking about? But either way, thanks to her, I've definitely been a lot more present in the fandom. And I have a furry friend in this small town. Let's go.
I could second that motion, being from a small Irish town and growing up a furry, being a furry, I guess, in the furry fandom. And like my only major experiences until I was like in 2019, 2018 was going to Dublin Comic Con, which for me was like a long trek away. Like now I just went to it just for the crack. And like I'm going to London for soon, like Confuzzle's on the cards. So I can tell like younger furries from small towns, there is furries around you. You just don't know about it yet.
Yeah, that's it. It's only a matter of finding them and getting to know them.
Also, you mentioned, speaking of other Irish furs, you mentioned Lanky Lunatic, who is one of my best friends. I love Lanky so much. He's great. And he's also past guest of the show. He's from like season 1, I think. Definitely, if not season 1, possibly season 2. So it's kind of weird it's all come full circle now, isn't it?
We're back again. Back at the start.
Lanky, if you're listening, we both adore you. We adore you very much, Lanky.
Exactly.
On screen right now, I'm looking at your fursuit. Who was your fursuit maker and why did you choose them?
My fursuit maker is actually Sylvina Handmaid, or Sylvina. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it. She is a Polish fursuit maker, and I actually, the reason I commissioned her was because I had met an Irish furry actually at DCC who had a fursuit made by this maker, and I remember I just absolutely adored this fursuit. I thought it was one of the cutest fursuits ever. I forget the name of the suitor, unfortunately. I don't even think they're still around. I think they sold on the suit, perhaps, but they did sell on the suit, actually. But either way, I ended up commissioning that same maker, and as did another friend of mine, actually. I won't say his name because I don't know if he would consent to that, but either way, he also commissioned a suit from the same maker, and he's also an Irish fur, and we both kind of talked about that, and ever since we've been really good friends. So I met a friend through even the maker.
Can I just say too, like Irish fursuit makers, I have nothing but good words to say about them. Like whenever I interact with any Irish fursuit maker, regardless if it's a fursuit maker that I've had in the past or just a fursuit maker that I've just come across, they're always super sweet, like especially Irish ones.
Exactly. I always notice they put their best foot forward to represent the fandom, and I really respect that, The amount of good within the Irish furry fandom really outweighs the bad, because no matter where you are in life, there's going to be bad people everywhere, and that's just something you can't avoid. There is a lot of hatred towards the furry fandom, which is unfortunate, but they're really nice people once you get to know them. And like there are weirdos and bad people within all walks of life. They really aren't avoidable, which is unfortunate, but is something we kind of have to learn to live with.
We've actually met a few times in real life at conventions and things, and one thing that strikes my mind is I think it was August DCC 2019 ? Possibly 2019, I think it was. Actually, you gave me fan art of Ink and Kyra that I actually still have. It's up on my wall. I haven't got the ability to move my laptop and show you, but you have to take my word for that it's still up on my wall. I can just send you a photograph of it and show you. But whenever I see it, because I keep all of my fan art in frames. For example, over here, I have one of my fan arts of Ink, like fan art I've received over the years, like commissioned art that I've gotten. And I keep it all together because it just makes me so freaking happy. Like, oh my God. And at DCC 2022, which was back in March, I got to meet so many Irish furs for the first time and so many past guests of the show for the first time, and it was incredible. So I want to say as well, like, thank you. Even though I said it to you back in 2019, like I say it every time I see my artwork and stuff, just means so much. Also, you mentioned your twin earlier on. Is it okay if I ask about them?
Oh yeah, that's okay.
So are you guys identical or are you like not identical? That's the phrase.
My twin and I are complete opposites. Chalk and
Dang.
cheese.
Dang, I was gonna ask, do you guys ever get mistaken for each other at cons?
No.
Because
That would be funny though.
it has happened where I wasn't wearing ink. My friend of mine was wearing ink, and I was walking around as myself, as my human Sona, as my flesh Sona, I don't know, whatever. And
That's
Motley
you.
Art, that's me, yeah. And Motley Art spotted the suit, like spotted ink, and like ran over to ink the suit. I'd be like, oh my god, ink, it's you. And then saw me and was like, Spider-Man meme. What?
Which I can only imagine the confusion.
Oh, it was so funny.
Oh no.
How has your art style developed over the years?
My art style, actually, I was heavily inspired by my twin growing up. She was always known as more of the artsy one, which times have changed now. She hasn't been drawing as much. It's mostly been me now, but anything she would draw, I'd kind of nearly copy her. I feel so bad for it now, but in hindsight, I was like 9, 10 years old. But eventually I did kind of start to develop my own style. Mostly and surprisingly, I've referenced real animals. So given that I only have a toony style now, I've no clue where that came from. Because I used to mostly draw like realistic foxes and wolves, sometimes bunnies as well. I do quite love my bunnies.
I haven't got an artistic bone in my body. Like if you asked me to draw something, I would give you a stick figure and be like, there you go. I can't draw for love nor money.
That's okay. You'll get there eventually. Just keep trying.
Be like Dory, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming.
Exactly. Then just eventually you'll come out with something that's less sticky, you know?
Less sticky, more figurey.
Exactly.
Exactly. So actually, a bit of a random question here. So you mentioned that like DCC, there's cons and there's fur meets and stuff. If you were to host your own fur meet, what would you host and why?
My own fur meet. I was actually having this conversation a few days ago even. So it's great that you ask. If I were to host a fur meet, what I would do is I'd like to rent out like a large play area. You know, like those kids jumping, what are they called? Jumping gyms? I'm getting tongue-tied here.
Jungle gyms? Is that what you mean?
Jungle gyms. Oh my goodness, I'm getting tongue-tied here. Okay. Hire out a large jungle gym, kind of like the security breach, like a daycare kind of, you know. I'd like to hire out like a big one of that, like just a huge jungle gym, and just like bring all the fursuits, you know, have fun.
For people who are listening on Spotify and not being on YouTube, you just missed the biggest face palm of my existence.
I saw. And us YouTube folks are seeing too.
I just have this image now of just furries, just chaos. It's just gonna be a repeat of DashCon all over again.
Oh.
All I have now is the music from FNAF.
It's so catchy though. Okay, but yeah, it's catchy.
I've actually never played a single second of FNAF in my life. However,
Really?
I can tell you the backstories to all of the characters because thank you, TikTok.
It does that. Gotta love that algorithm, am I right?
Exactly. Actually, speaking of social media, where can people find you online?
Sorry, I think my camera cut out there. People, you can find me online on YouTube. My username is Happy the Fox. I'm also on TikTok, which would be at happy_the fox. And lastly, I have Instagram, which would be at _expired.egg.
Is there a story behind the expired egg?
Surprisingly, no. I just thought it kind of had a ring to it. And well, my character Happy does have a bit of a story as to him liking eggs. It's a long story, so I think I'll leave that, but had to add the egg in there somewhere, you know.
Excellent choice.
Excellent indeed.
And if you want to follow us online, our social media is our Instagram is Furry Trash Pod, Twitter is F Trash Pod,